My name's Eric. Glad to be here. This is my third OpenSearchCon. Got to go to the one in Seattle and the one in Berlin, and it was great. So really enjoyed it. There's Scott. I don't know if you're going to come up and join me, rebooting in LTR. And I'm going to call out Eric Bernhardsen again one more time, even though he doesn't like it when I do that. Thank you, Eric. So when did we do the Elasticsearch LTR plugin? That was Doug Turnbull reached out to you 2017? Is that about right? And so we had been doing some stuff around learning to rank. Wikimedia Foundation had been doing some cool stuff around learning to rank. If you remember, Wikimedia search was pretty awful back in right? We can say that, right? It was pretty terrible. And now if you go on it, it's pretty darn good. So So we worked together. We made the Elasticsearch Learning to Rank plugin. A small part of me feels somewhat bad that at the heart of Wikimedia's infrastructure, very open source, very community, there's a com.019s Java package, which is the Elasticsearch Learning Rank plugin. So fast forward, OpenSearch came around. People were excited about it. And Grant Ingersoll did a class on learning to rank, right? And he wanted to do it on OpenSearch. But there was no learning to rank plugin for OpenSearch. So someone had made a fork of the Elasticsearch LTR plugin, which then Grant Ingersoll forked again. Help me out if I'm getting my facts wrong anywhere in here, Stavros. And eventually it landed around OpenSearch 2.0.6, somewhere in there. It landed, am I right, like 2.06? That's when it landed in the OpenSearch projects repo. And there was a release for it and that. And then, I don't know, what do we say, Scott? Time passed?
Was that last year?
October? 2 years ago? I don't know. Somewhere in there, right? But this plugin had kind of gone around, had a couple of different maintainers, different people contributing to it. And then because the two had sort of forked, the original Elasticsearch one that we worked on a lot of, and then the OpenSearch one was sort of falling behind.
By the way, not just us. So.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
Most of the commits.
Even since the fork, there were still contributions to the Elasticsearch version that had not been implemented over in the OpenSearch one.
Yeah. So when did we get to start thinking about rebooting the project? A couple of months ago?
Yeah.
Right? And it was like, hey, learning to rank, right? And it's funny, we've been maybe pushing it. Sometimes I feel like the first rule of learning to rank is not to talk too much about learning to rank because maybe it had its moment in the sun and then the LLM.
I just made the point that it's not sunsetted. It's still relevant now.
Yeah, so now we want to make it better, right? And it was already in the OpenSearch project, but the releases hadn't really been happening.
No.
And the tickets had started piling up, and quite a few, there were some open pull requests to release a version. And I think basically at that point, people were downloading the source code, compiling it for the version of OpenSearch they needed, right? I don't know. Say a little bit more about what we're trying to do in rebooting this plugin, and then maybe I'll share a couple of lessons learned.
Yeah, so I guess our number one priority is to iron out every roadblock there is to cutting a release for the current version of OpenSearch. And then, secondary to that would be going back to previous versions and making sure that the plugin exists for each one of those. So that's housekeeping. Get that taken care of. There is, if you look at the GitHub site, there are a number of open issues that we want to address. Some of them are just requests for features, new things. We've heard from some users of it that, users of learning to rank that haven't been able to use it in OpenSearch, that there are some key things that are preventing them from adopting it. So we'd like to iron those things out as new development. But that's that's looking forward. There are some things that we also want to do looking backward. Like I said, there were some contributions to the Elasticsearch plugin that haven't been brought over, and that's, it's nobody's fault, but maybe it's an oversight, which is, somebody forked it and brought it over, and that was a point in time thing. No one's been updating things as progress has been making in both sides. So that brings us to now.
Yeah. So a couple of things we've learned in getting involved with this plugin again, which we had nobody at Open Source Connections, neither Scott or I, had been part of it joining the OpenSearch project. So we're kind of like, it's our baby, but it was the baby that was adopted away and taken around some places, right? And so we don't really have a claim. And now we're trying to readopt that baby again, which is it leads to some awkward guardianship conversations. For example, none of us are maintainers on that repo, right? So we've had to start working with some of the existing maintainers who were maybe not super active, right? Otherwise it wouldn't have been an abandoned baby that needed adopting. So that was an interesting thing. One of the things I definitely learned is the value of community and getting involved. I was going to make, I don't see Fro here, so I'll make the joke that, if you're doing something in OpenSearch, it's good to find a Fro type person and give them a hug and keep them close, because they're really good at helping you figure out, maybe they can't solve your problem, but they can help you find the person that you need to talk to solve your problem, right?
Sherpa.
So Sherpa guide, right? So I think that was a good one. I think that just another lesson learned is just triaging and going through all of the issues in code and duplicating them and saying, that bug is still there, or, things have changed and I can't reproduce it, or that bug went away, I think was a good lesson learned. I don't know. Those are two that I've got.
Well, I'll throw another one out there, which is just the importance of continuous CI/CD and documenting your processes there. We do not continuously build the Elasticsearch plugin, and that's in contrast to all the CI/CD pipelines in OpenSearch. And beautifully orchestrated process, but we got to jump into that and adopt that too.
Yeah. And then, I think that the one of the things that we definitely have learned is that our mental model of how people maybe are using it is different than what other people are doing, but it is hhard to get feedback, right? I don't know, Scott, if this is a chance for you to plug your survey.
Again? Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
right.
the survey.
Yeah, survey.
So, I posted this on the #ML channel for the OpenSearch Slack, and I hope if you are using LTR in OpenSearch or even Elasticsearch, but and you have gripes or whatever, or you have some wish list ideas, look at that survey and give us some feedback, because that's going to be our roadmap for what we develop later on.
Yeah.
In addition to the GitHub issues pages as well.
Yeah. And then I think the other lesson that we're sort of definitely have learned as well is that you have to be willing to, be an evangelist for whatever your plugin or project is, right? You need to get out there and tell the story so other people know about it. Otherwise, even with the best technical effort and great code, et cetera, if people don't know about it, it's just going to kind of fly under the radar. You're not going to see the adoption that you want that gives you the feedback that accelerates things. So,
part of that is just seeing a little bit of movement on issues. Like even if you don't know the answer, it kind of helps to see. Raise your hand if you've been tempted to start working on an open source project and you look at the commits and you're like, wow, no one's committed on this in 5 years. No one's go to their issues page and there's 15 issues and they're all just dangling out there. No one's made any comments on it. I think just having a comment in there to say, yeah, I see you're heard. I see you, and let them know whether or not I'm not going to address that. I'm not going to fix that. Or yeah, that's on our roadmap later on. I think that helps a lot.
So yeah, and then I think the last thing that we've seen is. I'm really glad that we've been involved in the community for 18 months around, because we learned a lot of how OpenSearch wants to run itself, right? So then when we're bringing up this slightly different project here, we know like, oh, turns out there is a triage meeting every week on search relevance topics. Oh, maybe we should have the LTR plugin be folded into that so that other people are now seeing either the tickets languishing or the tickets moving along. It starts showing up in there. There's a lot of sort of community and cultural practices in the OpenSearch community, and it's been really useful to start. I won't say I know them all by any means because I keep asking questions, but I know enough of them to have a little bit of a sense of like, oh, we should be doing it like this because this is how other people do it. And I think that's been really helpful. So
The meetings happen, you can go to a Meetup and see when the meetings happen, weekly bug triage. Is this on? I don't think this is.
Yeah.
See the weekly bug triage, just participate there. I think, someone mentioned a new plugin, Learning to Boost plugin, or something else. If you have an idea for something, it probably would behoove you to at least get into the cadence of how things are done with the OpenSearch project. It's very open. All their processes are open. Once you start to get a feel for how things work, then if you think this would be a plugin that would be useful to the community, just start following those processes and then you can jump in. Yeah, questions or comments?
Yeah, many thanks. You're still remembering LTR. Yeah, actually, last week, Anas pinned me and talked to me that, Charlie, would you adopt LTR in your team? Actually, you're working with ML Commons and even partial of your PhD thesis is about learning to rank. So could you please do that? And the pity is after I look into that repo, that's almost 2 years ago, I'm still thinking in another way, So like, if you want me to adopt that baby, probably I will bring you an alien, and even the name is different.
Yeah.
Because now in the domain of relevance, LTR actually is now called cross encoders. So and even there's not too much requirements on the feature engineering side. But I know that's probably lots of companies are still doing the traditional way that all the features should be normalized or encoded into different type, one hot, several things. So now this domain became larger and larger. So we still need to looking back to the initial design of LTR. Should it be still like that, or it should be mutated, or even it should be break down to like search pipelines, right? Just some kind of components inside the search pipelines is enough. So we are very open for that discussion to going on.
Excellent.
So I think Eric's point was the most important here, which is that to get the improvements to happen, we have to have community interest. It's a cycle. And too many people, I think right now, the tendency is, I looked at LTR and it was too hard to implement and I couldn't figure it out, so I'm giving up. And the correct response is, it was too hard to implement, I'm not giving up, I'm going to go file an issue and say, here are the places where I get stuck in implementing LTR or cross-encoding. To what extent should cross-encoding replace LTR? Interesting question. Join the discussion. I haven't seen your comments on the LTR forum. So we really would love to have people contributing and interacting on LTR and other techniques like that to move it forward, because it's a technique that's been abandoned except by a few very large companies, which seem to be happy with it. We know that it's generally useful, maybe in a different form, but there are a couple of problems that we've seen with users. One is they don't have the data to train it, and we're trying to work on that with our user behavior insights project. So that's one of the reasons we're doing user behavior insights, to provide better machine learning possibilities. Another reason is feature engineering. Now, do we need feature engineering? I don't know. Maybe the state of the art says that we don't. My gut, which is probably wrong, because I'm not Charlie, and Charlie has a much healthier gut than I do. My gut is that if you have relatively small amounts of traffic, feature engineering is fairly important. If you have huge amounts of traffic, if you're Amazon.com or Nike or someone, maybe you don't need to do feature engineering. But if you're a smaller user, my guess is yes. I don't know. That's an empirical question, really. That's all. It wasn't a question. Here,
One thing that I'd like to, another shout out, is there's a project called Hello LTR, which is meant to address that adoption process. So it's a series of notebooks that kind of walk you through a couple of the beginner questions you might have, like what's a model? How do I train it? What's the output? How is this going to work with my search engine? It's on GitHub. If you just search for Hello LTR, you'll find it. I actually have it up on our booth as well. Awesome. Thank you.